In case you haven't noticed, I'm a really big Danganronpa fan. I even have pictures in my intro, and it's always been a series that really captivated me. I just really appreciate the twists and turns throughout the plot. Unfortunately, I purchased Zanki Zero, but I never got around to actually playing it. It is a game I totally intend on playing, but I really just don't know when, and it just slipped through the cracks. Let me know down in the comments if that's a video you would like to see. So with that in mind, when it came to this game, Master Detective Archives Raincode, I knew that I'm not going to let this one slip through the cracks. I'm definitely going to check it out. We're going to dive right into this. So here I am. And granted, it is a little late. You know, it came out in June of 2023. But here I am, ready to dive in. And I have to say, I am very pleasantly surprised. Master Detective Archives Raincode was one of my most anticipated games of 2023. That's not a joke, by the way. Not a joke whatsoever. I saw the trailer. It was in one of, Nintendo's showings. And I was like, oh, this looks really, really good. I have to check this out. So that's why you're seeing this video right now. The team behind these games just seem to have a solid foundation. And you might be asking yourself, what is the solid foundation? Well, the solid foundation is they make a compelling story. Like, that is the foundation, like above anything else. They might have countless mini games going on and stuff, or zany and wild characters, but at its core, the story has to be compelling. And there has to be a multitude of shifts and turns and story beats within there. And that is like truly when it's at its best. And that is when, like, that's the part that really pulls you into these type of games. And I have to say that that really transitioned into this game as well. So I'm a happy camper. If you're new here, I talk about anime and gaming news. I also do reviews on both. Not to mention, we occasionally cover anime conventions. If any of that sounds remotely intriguing to you, please consider subscribing. Now, with that out of the way, let's jump into my impressions on Master Detective Archives Raincode. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. I am Ryofu, and you are watching The Gaming Harbinger. And real quick, because I think I left this out of my notes, but this is a game that is currently only on the Nintendo Switch. So that's important to note, especially when we get into the performance of the game. Whether you are familiar or unfamiliar with Danganronpa, with this video, I will try to make it pretty clear if this is a game that would interest you or if it's a game that it would not interest you. So let's just throw this out there real quick. If you are familiar with Danganronpa and you like those games, you are probably going to like this one. No doubt about it. The way the gameplay mechanics happen and the mini games that are throughout the game are very different, but at its core, there's similarities that you experienced in Danganronpa. And it's kind of the same concept where, you know, in that game, in Danganronpa, you weren't a detective. In this game, you are a detective, but you kind of played a detective in the Danganronpa series. So it's kind of a similar concept where you're presenting arguments to whatever someone else is saying, and you got to counteract that with the correct evidence. It's kind of a similar concept, or statements are made and you have to find those contradictions within them. So with that being said, I think it's going to feel like familiar territory to you, but it's going to be a refreshing experience because there's a lot of mini games and stuff in it that are brand spanking new. Now, if you're someone that's jumping in and you have never played a Danganronpa game, now things will get a little more interesting, but we're going to cover why or why not you would be interested in this. If you have never played a Danganronpa game, it is a visual novel series intertwined with a couple of different mini games that work as the actual gameplay mechanic. Honestly, some of the gameplay feels like a variation of quick time events, but it's still different enough and presented in a way that complements a visual novel experience. Speaking of, On the visual novel side, you will interact with a large ensemble of quirky characters, and they all have their own agendas and motivations. On the gameplay side, you are trying to find holes in people's arguments and figure out who the real killer is. Even in Danganronpa, you're pretty much being a little detective and breaking down all the evidence you come across. Now in this game, you are a master detective as opposed to a high school student with a gifted talent. But it pretty much works the same way. Most master detectives do have a unique talent. I knew at the gate when I loaded this game up and it asked you to pick a difficulty, I knew this shit was going to be off the rails then. I'm not going to go in any more detail than that, but I'm going to just say more games need to do this because they're messing with your head. And it was pure genius and it was absolutely hilarious. Got a good laugh out of me. In this game, it starts with you on your way to meet other master detectives. You are invited to work on a big case. You catch a ride on a train and are quickly introduced to 5 other master detectives. Of course, something horrible goes wrong and you wake up to absolute chaos on the train. There is also our favorite anime formula in the whole wide world. And let me tell you, God, I love this. I love this in anime. I don't know what you're talking about. I live for these moments. Amnesia. Woo! So original, right? But all joking aside, like, this isn't something that's like, I mean, it is a backdrop to the background of your main character, but I mean, there's so many nuances within the story. Like, this isn't something where you're like, oh, this is a reflection of bad writing or a very weak story. No. So don't let that misguide you. I am making fun of it a little bit because, you know, we've seen it a billion times in anime. We've seen it a billion times in anime-esque video games, but don't let that deter you because the rest of the game, super solid. Once you come to the realization that you have amnesia, you're also experiencing another voice speaking to you, and it appears that you have made a deal with Death herself. And yes, I did say her. Death, who actually goes by Shinigami, is pretty much like the comic relief, the fan service, and I guess you could say also works as a guide to help you through all the mazes and puzzles in the game. And she also can help you when you're trying to figure out, like certain evidence. Is this working, or what's the counter to this statement here? She tries to assist and help out any way she can. And I will say this, because the way the main character is, which again, going back to this, and it's going to sound like a big criticism on my part, but I don't want you to read too deep into this, but I'm being objective, I'm being reasonable about this. The main character, you've seen this guy a billion times, the sheepish guy that is, afraid of his own shadow, gets bullied and pushed around, the short one, so on and so forth. You've seen this archetype countless times. But I will say this, because of the way the main character is, and then you have Shinigami, the way she is, they kind of work together. It has an interesting chemistry, that's pretty much hilarious, I guess you could say, because he's such a sheepish guy, I guess you could say classified as maybe a weakling. And then you have her where she just has really bad off-color jokes about death and everything and gets excited when people die, which, I guess it makes sense, she is death after all. But with that being said, there's definitely some parts to her that are just plain weird. Like, I don't care how cute the girl is, or you make sparkly stuff come out of her mouth. Like, that was pretty damn disgusting. I don't want the damn key. No thanks, you can keep it. You just use it and you open the doors for me, thank you. I get that she's kind of cute, but it's just weird. She's a weird person. The actual gaming mechanics are mixed in between the visual novel and story beat segments. Essentially, you are picking the correct evidence to counter whatever the enemy is saying. The thing is, you have to dodge or jump over the comments that are pointless and attack the ones that actually matter. There is a sequence that's more QTE where Shinigami shoulder checks a wall jumps over spikes. I can't really remember if she punches or kicks the cannonball, but you'll see in the video. This is actually kind of fun and entertaining when this sequence happens. And then there's also another one where you ride a minecart and have to choose the right direction to go. But needless to say, there is definitely more mini or interactive segments in this game than Danganronpa. One thing that made me smile was the inclusion of the puzzle segment once you have figured out who the killer is. This is identical to Danganronpa. But what really made me know everything was going to be alright was how the start of the game went from 0 to 100. Absolutely glorious. I just love how this team manages to keep you on your toes and completely blindside you. It's an absolute roller coaster. Spike Chunsoft and Tokyo Games might be working on a smaller scale than Atlas, but they have a solid blueprint. They have a fantastic artist, Rui Kamatsuki, that does great character designs. They have an amazing composer, Masafumi Takada. He's kind of like the composer from the Persona series. He just has a unique style that is hard to replicate. In Takada's case, he blends various electronic genres with jazz and classical. It's not as crazy as it's sounding, trust me. It's actually quite catchy. In fact, infectious. I just love the music Takada-san puts in these games. They only elevate the product. Now, if there is one area where you can truly have like some criticism towards, it's definitely the performance of the game. So, as I said at the beginning, this is a Nintendo Switch game, and you can tell they're trying to do things like you can see the reflections and puddles and stuff like that. The frame rate just dips drastically. And, it's kind of one of those things where this isn't gonna ruin the game for you, but it's noticeably bad. And I don't know if there's a way for them to fix it. Maybe they'll patch it. The game's been out for several months now, so I don't know if that's something they're working on or they're kind of like already pushing the Switch to its limits. It's kind of hard to gauge because the graphics themselves actually look really good. And of course, the pictures of the characters, the visual novel aspect, that looks nice as always. The art looks beautiful. But when it comes to the actual gameplay and walking around, and like I said, in areas, even in the very first area, the train area, there's dips even then, and there's not a lot going on. I think it's also very important to point out that this is coming from someone that played the game so far docked. So I actually don't have any data on playing it in handheld mode. I will give you some feedback, like probably by the time this video comes out, I will have tried it handheld mode a couple of times. So I'll leave a comment on that and let you know what I really think. But as it stands right now, even in docked mode, performance is all over the place. And of course, that would elevate the game even higher if the performance was solid. But, it's still just such a good game that I don't think the performance is going to stop you from playing this. While the performance is a little disappointing, I don't think it's enough to stop anyone from playing this because it is a really good game. But that just only shows that if that was on point as well, oh man, this game would be perfection. I was concerned for some damn reason that they had lost the fire, that they could no longer make a visual novel and make it all video gamey and make it have zany characters and exciting twists and turns. I'm very pleased with how my playthrough is going so far. If you love Danganronpa or Phoenix Wright, please check out this game. If you're familiar with visual novels, I'm pretty sure you have tried Danganronpa games, or you might have even considered trying this game. At the end of the day, I think when it comes to these type of games, I see why it gets thrown into the visual novel genre, but there's still a lot of gamey aspects to it and mini games. So if you think that all you're gonna do is press X and not move around or anything, then yeah, you're gonna have to do a little more than that. But I don't think it's not the type of game that's really trying to challenge you or stress you out or anything like that. I think over time, even if you were to guess everything wrong, eventually you're gonna get it right, if you keep dying or restarting stuff. So it's not intended to be this game that is supposed to stump you and you never beat it. You're supposed to, over time, figure out, okay, this was wrong, now I got to go the other direction. Oh, I guess that wrong. Okay, I'm thinking of this argument wrong. I need to recalibrate it in my head. Oh, okay, maybe this is what would be the contradictive part. So if you're like, I need more gameplay or whatever, then yeah, this probably isn't for you, especially if you never played one. You have to be kind of invested in the story. And if the story does not invest you, or it's too weird, or it's too anime-esque and you're not into that, yeah, this isn't going to do anything to change your mind. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for me. Please let me know where you stand down in the comments section below. Have you played Master Detective Archives Raincode? Are you thinking about checking it out? Have I convinced you? Are you a Danganronpa fan? Or like I said, let me know if you want a Zanki Zero video. I just want to say thank you for all the support the past year. Like, this has been the biggest growth of the channel yet. And even more so in the past, like this second half of the year, it's been really awesome. I greatly appreciate it. And it's just a really cool thing to see me jumping around to all these wild topics, and people are interested. People are finding the videos interesting and compelling. And I mean, I couldn't ask for more than that. But anyways, I hope you have an awesome holiday. I hope you have an awesome new year. I look forward to seeing you again. I mean, January is going to be 5 years of the channel, so I don't know. I'll probably should do something for that in conjunction with celebrating 400 subscribers. But anyways, I appreciate you all. I'll see you next time.